Sairam students, welcome to the revision of chapter 4, that is nutrition in living organisms. So let's start. So what is nutrition? The process of taking in and using the food which takes place in the living organisms is called as nutrition. So we take the food inside and use it for various purposes, and this nutrition, it takes place in the living organisms. And what is the need for nutrition? Right, we require energy for doing the work, so that's why nutrition is required. Also for the growth and proper development of our body, nutrition is required. Then there are damaged cells, so that has to be replaced, and the tissues has to be repaired. For that, nutrition is required. Also to fight against various diseases. So for all these purposes, we require nutrition. Now nutrition, there are of two types, autotrophic and heterotrophic. Right, now autotrophic means, children, those organisms which can prepare their food themselves. They do not have to depend on others for food. And heterotrophic means it depends upon the other plants or animals for food. Right, so as I told you, autotrophic nutrition, it is mostly found in the green plants. And heterotrophic nutrition, the examples are animals, fungi. Right, these are all belong to heterotrophic nutrition. Now, what are the foodstuffs? Substances which are digested and assimilated for obtaining energy and for the growth and health of our body. Now, whatever food we eat, it is digested, right? We have to digest it. And assimilated means you have to take in the food and absorb it fully, right? So, the foodstuff, it is required for obtaining energy and also for the growth and health of our body. Now, there are two types of nutrients, that is macronutrients and micronutrients. Now, macronutrients, they are required in large quantities, and micronutrients, they are required in small quantities. So, what are macronutrients? Carbohydrates, proteins and fats, these are all macronutrients. And minerals and vitamins, these are micronutrients. So, minerals and vitamins we take in small quantities, and carbohydrates, proteins and fats we take in larger quantities. Now, what are autotrophic plants? Now, plants, they need food for their growth, as they can produce their own food. Right, so this is the diagram for the process of photosynthesis. So what happens in photosynthesis? Let's see. With the help of the sunlight and chlorophyll, plants make their food in their leaves using water and nutrients from the soil and carbon dioxide from the air. So how do plants prepare their food? With the help of sunlight and chlorophyll. Right, they make their food in their leaves, and also they absorb the water and nutrients from the soil, and carbon dioxide which is present in the air, that also they take. So the formula is carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll gives food, that is glucose plus oxygen. So what is the formula? 6CO2 plus 6H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Right, now let's move to the next part. Roots. Now, what is the function of root? Roots, it absorbs water, minerals and salts from the soil, and the function of the stem is it transports all these things to the leaves. Now, leaves, they have got microscopic openings called as stomata, and from the stomata they take in carbon dioxide from the air. Now, chloroplasts, they are present in the leaves which contain chlorophyll, that also absorbs sunlight, and it helps to convert the carbon dioxide and water into food. And what happens in this process? Oxygen is given out. Now, photosynthesis, it takes place in the green stems too, because they also contain chlorophyll. Now we will see about the transport system in the plants. There are two types, that is xylem and phloem. So what is the function of xylem? It transports minerals and water from the roots, and the function of phloem is it transports food from the leaves. Now plants, they produce carbohydrates also by the process of photosynthesis. Now carbohydrates, they are made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and proteins, they are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. Now we all know that air, it contains gaseous nitrogen, and plants require nitrogen for their growth, but they cannot use this gaseous nitrogen, so it needs to be fixed, right? So what happens, the plants, they can utilize the nitrogen by two methods. One is biological nitrogen fixation and other is atmospheric nitrogen fixation. So what is biological nitrogen fixation? There are two types of organisms, that is rhizobium and azotobacter, which can carry out this biological fixation of nitrogen. So the root nodules of the leguminous plants, right? Rhizobium microorganism, it is present in the root nodules of the leguminous plants. So what it does, it absorbs the gaseous nitrogen and it converts it into a compound called as nitrate, and then the plants, they can utilize it for the growth. Also, there is a microorganism called as azotobacter, which is present in the soil. So it also does the same thing. It converts the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates. Then we are going to see about the atmospheric fixation of nitrogen. So what happens in rainy season? Lightning occurs. So what happens during that time? The atmospheric nitrogen which is there, it reacts with oxygen and it forms nitric oxide, and then again it is oxidized, means one oxygen is combined and it forms nitrogen dioxide. Now this nitrogen dioxide, it dissolves in the rainwater and it is converted into nitric acid, and this nitric acid, it gets added to the soil along with the rainwater, and then the plants utilize it for their growth, right? So next is symbiotic nutrition. What is symbiotic nutrition? What happens in symbiotic nutrition? Two organisms, they help each other, right? One plant is dependent upon the other plant and both help each other and they fulfill their needs. So what happens? The two plants, they live together and they fulfill their needs like nutrition, protection, support with each other's help. So example is you have seen some fungi growing around the roots of some other plants. So what happens? The plants, it supply nutrients to the fungi, and the fungi, it supplies in turn minerals and water to the plants. So also another example is about the fungi and algae. So what happens? Fungi, it provides water and minerals and shelter to algae, and algae, it provides food to the fungi. So example is lichen. What are heterotrophic plants? Now heterotrophic plants, as I told you, they depend upon others for food. So because they do not contain chlorophyll, so they grow on the body part of the other plants and they obtain their food. So that's why they are also called as parasitic plants. And examples are Loranthus and Cuscuta. They do not have chlorophyll, right? So Cuscuta, it is completely dependent upon the host plant. So that's why Cuscuta is called as a parasitic plant. Now what are insectivorous plants? Insectivorous plants are those which feed upon insects to obtain the nutrients. So they generally grow in soil or water and they are deficient in nitrogen compounds. So what they do? Example is Drosera burmani, because now this flower, it has a flower like, this plant, it has a flower like appearance, right? And it grows close to the ground, and the leaves, they are attractively colored, pink or red in color, with hairs at the margin. So this drop at the margins of the hair, there are some droplets of sticky substance which attracts the insects, and scientist Jonas Burman, he identified this first in Sri Lanka in 1737. So that's why the name has been given as Drosera burmani. Saprophytic plants. These saprophytic plants, they obtain the food from the dead and decaying bodies of other organisms. So examples are fungi like mushroom and yeast, right? So what happens? Fungi, it secretes digestive enzymes on the dead remains to digest or break down the carbon compounds they contain, and whatever solution is there, that solution is absorbed as a nutrient. So some fungi also they spoil the food and cause disease or illness, but some have medicinal properties also. Now yeast and some mushrooms, they are useful. We eat mushrooms also, right? And yeast is used in the fermentation process for making bread, and this mushroom, it is a rich source of vitamins and iron. Now What is the nutrition in animals? Now, nutrients, they are obtained from food for carrying out various activities of the bodies, and these are supplied to the body through blood. So whatever food we consume, it does not mix with blood as it is. It has to be converted into the soluble form so that it mixes with the blood. So what are the steps in nutrition? First step is ingestion. What happens in ingestion? Food is taken inside. Then in digestion, the food is converted into simple soluble form. Absorption means the whatever food is there, it gets it gets converted into the soluble form and it is transferred to the blood. And then assimilation means utilization and absorb food by cells utilize it, right? Whatever food is absorbed, right? And it for the energy production, growth and repair. And egestion means removal of waste products and undigested food from the body. Now there are different methods of ingestion in different animals. They are like swallowing, chewing, sucking, scraping and gnawing. Then there are three types of nutrition: holozoic nutrition, saprozoic nutrition and parasitic nutrition. Now holozoic nutrition, the example is of amoeba. You all know that amoeba, it is a unicellular animal and it does not have hands and mouth. So it takes the food from any part of the surface of its unicellular body. Now see here children, in the diagram you can see how the food is outside, right here. Then slowly the food is taken inside, completely it is taken inside, and then it is inside the unicellular body. So these are the steps of ingestion of food in amoeba, right? Now what is holozoic nutrition? In holozoic nutrition, as I told you, amoeba, it surrounds the food particle from all the sides and takes inside the cell, and then it digests the food with the help of different enzymes, and then undigested food, it is left behind, and this amoeba, it moves further with the help of pseudopodia. So amoeba, euglena, paramecium, these are all examples of unicellular animals, and whatever nutrition steps just now we saw, it occurs within this unicellular body. Now insects, they have mouth part for ingestion of food. So cockroach and grasshopper, they nibble their food with jaw like mouth parts, and butterflies, they suck the food with the help of a tube like proboscis. Mosquitoes and bedbugs, they use needle like mouth part to pierce and a tube like mouth part to suck the blood or other fluids. Now there is classification of animals according to the food types: herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, scavengers and decomposers. Now herbivores means they feed only on plants, that is grazing animals. Carnivores and frugivores means, carnivores means seed eaters and frugivores mean fruit eaters. Now carnivores, they depend upon other animals for food, right? That means they are indirectly dependent on plants for food. That is the herbivorous animals. So then they, omnivores, they obtain food from both plants and animals. So examples are monkey, chimpanzee, humans. And what are scavengers and decomposers? Some organisms, they perform the function of cleaning and conserving the environment by the very act of feeding themselves. So they obtain the food from the dead bodies of the animals, that is vulture, crow, hyena, etc. Now decomposers, these microbes, they obtain their food by decomposing the dead bodies of organisms or other materials. What is saprozoic nutrition? These organisms, they obtain their nutrients by absorbing the liquid organic material from the dead bodies or from the environment. For example, house flies, ants, spiders and unicellular animals. Then parasitic nutrition. Some animals, they depend on other animals for food. So they obtain the food only from those animals whom they are dependent, and that is called as parasitic nutrition. So some animals, they live on the body surface of the other animals and they obtain their food by sucking their blood. So that is called as ectoparasitic nutrition, and such animals are called as ectoparasites. For example, louse, bedbug, tick, etc. And what are endoparasitic nutrition? Some animals, they live on inside the body of the other animals and they obtain their food. So that is called as endoparasitic nutrition, and animals are called as endoparasites. So tapeworm, roundworm, etc. right? So now let's have a look at what type of questions will come. Choose the correct answer. The leaves have microscopic openings called stomata, spiracles or chlorophyll. So what will be your option? The leaves have microscopic openings called as stomata. So this will be your correct answer. The plant which traps and feeds insects is dash, rose, cuscuta and Drosera burmani. So the example is Drosera burmani, right? So you will select that answer. Now state whether the following statements are true or false. So first one is Cuscuta is an example of autotrophic plant. So you have to identify whether it is true or false. Now Cuscuta is a parasitic plant we had seen. So it is not autotrophic because autotrophic plants can prepare their own food. So you will select the option as true, right? Then yeast and mushrooms are examples of saprophytic nutrition. Yes, because we had just now seen that yeast and mushrooms, they are examples of saprophytic. So answer will be again true. Houseflies, ants are examples of saprozoic nutrition. So we had seen children about saprozoic nutrition, right? Are they examples of saprozoic nutrition? Yes, they are examples of saprozoic nutrition, right? Because they obtain the food from the liquid organic material, right? So next is name the following. Now scavenger, we had seen about decomposers and scavengers. Now scavengers are those which obtain their food from the dead bodies, right? Dead bodies of other animals. So vulture, crow and ants. So what will be the example? Vulture, right? Now unicellular animals, spiders, euglena and houseflies. So we had seen examples of unicellular, amoeba, paramecium, euglena. So your answer will be euglena, right? So in this way children, we have finished with the revision of chapter 4. So in the next session, we'll start with the revision of the next chapter. Till then, goodbye.